All right, guys, you saw all the announcements from Cupertino. You saw all the YouTube reviewers talking about the 14 Plus, the 14, the 14 Pro, and the Pro Max. We've had them in our studios for the past few days. I've run them through their paces. Let's talk about these three phones, the 14, 14 Pro Max, and 14 Pro. Which one should you get? What are they about? Let's get down to it. Now the 14 Plus will not be coming out till a later date, so we'll have the 14, 14 Pro Max, and 14 Pro. We've got that deep purple, baby. That deep purple is absolutely beautiful. This is the color to have for 2022. No other color is necessary. Deep purple or go home. Let's get down to talking about the 14 first, because this is gonna be the phone I think a lot of you out there will like. This is essentially the same size as the 14 Pro, right? You don't have that ProMotion display on this. You're gonna have really good battery life because of the display as well. They're touting this as one of the best battery life you've ever seen out of an iPhone. So if you're looking for something on a budget, but you want that size, you want that same cameras, a lot of the same camera attributes you're getting out of the Pro, you might want to opt for this one. This might be a really good buy for a lot of you out there. I've been playing with this. I absolutely like this a lot for day-to-day usage. I mean, if you don't need 3 cameras on your phone, you're going to like what this offers to you. You're still going to get cinematic 4K in this. You're going to get really good optimization on the camera systems out there. The images are sharp. There's a little bit more vibrancy in the 14 lineup when it comes to the cameras versus the 13. Something I noticed. But in terms of sharpness, in terms of clarity, you're not going to miss a beat. You're going to really enjoy what this phone has to offer for you. And battery life, as I mentioned, is absolutely fantastic. This is your daily driver, especially if you're on a budget. Let's get down to talking about the Pro phones, because here at Geek Culture, we like to play with our Pro phones. We do gaming. Zeno's playing with a lot of games on these phones. What do you think of the gaming, Zeno?
It's pretty all right. Just that, it will take a bit of time for the apps to mature a bit,
You're right. You're right. We're going to talk about it in just a bit, because that is something that a lot of reviewers may not say right off the bat here, is that iOS 16, there has been betas out there and people haven't had a chance to develop. But now with Dynamic Island, now with some of the new attributes of the 14 Pro lineup, we're not going to see these apps mature probably for another month or so. So we'll probably have to visit you guys again, give you more of an update with the 14 Pro and Pro Max, how they perform with all those new apps that are coming out that are going to be optimized for this processor, the A16 Bionic chip. I love these names, Bionic. A16 Bionic. It's so Terminator-ish. I love it.
Come with me if you want to live.
Let's get into the Pro first and foremost. I love this phone. Now, out of the box, it does feel a little bit heavier. By the scales, it's not, but it feels a little bit heavier than the 13 Pro. You're gonna notice one thing, the camera housing is a little bit larger, protrudes out a little bit more. And if you're thinking you're gonna use the same exact case as last year, no, you're not. Apple has tweaked things slightly. As a matter of fact, the power button is just slightly lower or higher than the 13. Just slightly. So much so you're going, did Apple do this to us so we have to buy another case? Well, possibly because also the camera housing as well, and then the antenna placement. But neither here nor there. Every year you gotta buy a new case. Case in point, I've had my case from the very beginning and it looks tarnished. It's time for a new case, then I'll go with my 14 Pro Max. Okay, getting back to the 14 Pro here for a second. Display, ProMotion display, absolutely beautiful. It's very reminiscent of the 13 Pro, guys. There's not gonna be a lot of differences here. If you're looking for revolution, it's not a revolutionary year, it's an evolutionary year. But nonetheless, I like what this phone offers in terms of the performance. It does a very, very good job. Moving on to this, Dynamic Island is really cool. Now, you're not gonna see a lot of what it can do just yet. Based on the apps that we have on the phone right now, you're gonna see notifications, it moves around, it sort of shape shifts to what it needs to be. I actually like this. The name is a little bit funny, but I like what they're doing with this technology. Instead of trying to hide the front-facing camera, embrace it, and I think this is gonna be something you're gonna see other phone manufacturers adopt in time to come. You know it always happens, and it will definitely happen in the future because this is great. And it's better for notifications because it doesn't take up the entire top of your display. You just see it there on the island, and you can just move on with your work. Okay, in terms of day-to-day performance, is there a difference between the A16 Bionic chip and the A15? Well, on paper they say there is, but day-to-day usage, I would say that the 16 is slightly faster, a little bit more fluid when you're using it through the UI and you're opening up some of the native apps, but it's a minor difference than the 15. As a matter of fact, the 15 is in this phone right here. So the performance you're seeing out of this phone is very similar to what you're seeing out of this phone. As a matter of fact, looking at it, they're almost the same color. But one difference I noticed, I just realized this. This is a little bit more smoother on the deep purple. This is a little bit more rougher here. Slightly different texture. Little tip for you right there if you're wondering what the difference is between the coatings. There is a slight difference. But outside of that, in terms of performance, day-to-day, very minimal difference. A15, A16, they're so good already. Apple's already beat all the competition. It doesn't even make a difference. Now they're just having fun playing around with numbers at this point in time. Let's get into what everybody's talking about though. Cameras, 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 cameras. We've got a 48 megapixel camera system on this now. It is pixel binning, and it is gonna give you that same 12 megapixel image out as a JPEG. But of course, if you do shoot in Pro RAW, you will see that full 48 megapixel image. Now, case in point, do not think this is gonna be the same kind of image quality that you're getting out of, let's say, a Nikon Z7 II that we're filming on right now, or whatever that may be. Sensor size is gonna play a big role, and same with lenses. These are small lenses, that will also change. Speaking of lenses, this is slightly wider, 24 millimeters versus 26 that we were seeing on the 13 Pro and Pro Max. So you're gonna get a little bit wider. That 2 millimeters does make a difference, but you can just take a step forward and you'll be pretty much the same. But one thing I did notice is that the colors are a little bit more vibrant coming out of the camera system. They look a little bit more warmer. The skin tone's a bit more pleasing, which I absolutely love. And also the big feature that is one of the most important features for me, because I'm doing a lot more video now, especially here on this channel, cinematic 4K, 24p, 30p, cinematic video in 4K. Absolutely awesome. Guys, if you've never taken advantage of cinematic video, please do so. Maybe you didn't do so because it was only 1080 before and you're shooting everything else in 4K. It didn't work with your workflow. Now it does. It is beautiful. You can also go back, you can edit, you can change the focusing where it's at. Honestly, I was talking with David Gelb when he did his short video here in Singapore about chicken rice a few months back, and he shot primarily with the cinematic mode. He loved that in 1080. Now with 4K, it's a whole new world, man. This is exciting with this phone. So to me personally, better than even just having 48 megapixels. Nonetheless, the cameras are really good out of this. The front-facing camera on this. They say it has autofocus now. And I'm like, but the other one focused fine. I never was out of focus. I don't know, I had a yellow box around me the entire time. So I don't know if there's a different algorithm that Apple put into it or not. I have no idea, but it works great on the 14 Pro. It worked great on my 13 Pro Max. So whatever Apple did, they did. I'm not gonna argue with them. It still looks good. Image is sharp, it's clear, great colors out of the front-facing camera. As a matter of fact, the one thing I like that Apple does with their camera systems that you're not seeing from a lot of smartphone manufacturers is that the color science from every camera is the same. You don't really notice you're changing the lens unless you do it physically. If you ask somebody, what lens am I using? They wouldn't know. Because on some smartphones out there, the main camera is beautiful, it's awesome, then you go to the wide angle, it looks like crap, or you go to the telephoto, it looks like crap. It's vice versa, right? But Apple, everything is homogeneous in the sense where every camera looks the same color-wise, a lot of great detail. You're going to really like this. The wide angle camera lens on this is also really good. Now the aperture is slightly a little bit slower than last year's, but I mean 1.9 to 2.2 thereabouts if I'm not mistaken. But you're not really going to notice a difference. As a matter of fact, you're going to notice that the image is slightly sharper. Now I'm not a big wide angle shooter, but I will use it for macro. Macro is one of the things that I love about using with the iPhone system, and this macro is awesome, beautiful. You are going to notice a little bit of a difference. Is it going to be night and day than last year's? No, but there is a difference coming into play. Okay, outside of that though, battery life is actually really good. I mean, I had no problem with the battery life on my 13 Pro Max. Over time, it does slow down, but I will say it's been great with us over the past couple days testing it. It's been fantastic. And yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, this deep purple is beautiful. Isn't this purple beautiful? Zeno, isn't this purple awesome? It's so good, right? It's so good. I mean, if I remember correctly, this was Steve Jobs' favorite color, purple was. So they had an anniversary phone a couple years back, and so maybe that's why they've brought it back here for the 14 Pro Max. But outside of that, guys, I mean, let's be honest with you for a second. We're not changing the game here with the 14 Pro, Pro Max versus the 13 Pro and Pro Max, right? This is an evolutionary change, but the changes that are in place are really good, but we have not seen the potential yet, probably for another month or so, until the apps have matured and developed to work with iOS 16 and the new features that are in the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max. But outside of that, guys, these are our thoughts on these new phones. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like these phones, which one you're gonna get, hit us up, let us know. And if you like this review, check out more of our videos right here.